So the demonstration I set up, this is a very simple and maybe not even realistic, you know, as far as pieces and everything. But so the demonstration I did is I just did like a sample car. So I have this base item car, which I've set up in the configurator. So
Perfect.
you can come through here and you can pick, you know, your style of frame, you know, just a standard frame or maybe like a sports car frame. You can see that I've set it up so that, you know, if you get a sports car frame, it's an additional $1,000 that it adjusts on the price at the bottom.
Right.
So we'll go with that option. You know, it tacks it on to the price at the bottom. Tires, you know, you can pick if you want just standard, maybe some heavy tread. As you can see, this is kind of a silly example. You're probably not going to put this on a sports car, but you get the idea.
I did.
So rim size, you know, this is just letting you know this is a required field. So I enter in inches. Maybe I want 18-inch rims. That says OK. So I have a verification set up on this so that if I put in something like this, it lets me know this is an acceptable size. I can look at this. It says, you know, you have to have within an 18 to 24 inch, you have to increment it by 0.5.
Nice.
So it accepts, oh, I guess I should probably fix that. But it accepts that. You know, you can pick your different colors, extra cost for green.
Nice.
So spoiler is just an option that I can pick if I have the sports car frame selected. So if I have this, you know, adding spoilers and an option. Just some dependencies I have set up, some attributes. If you want to add, you know, power locks and power windows, you can add that. And so what this does, these are all items within or inventory items set up. So like the tire or the sports car frame, you know, those are all items that I have set up in GP already. And I have code set up for each one of these entries so that when I actually add this, dang it. Just complaining about my rim size because I just added that field. So I'll take you into the configurator and we'll show you that while we're at it. And we can remove that field.
I think this is an extra cost too, isn't it?
Using this configurator?
Yeah, because I called and asked if I could test it to see if we could use it, and they were like, oh, it's an additional module or something.
Yeah, it is an additional module, so it would be an additional cost to get that set up. I'm not sure what the cost of that is, to be honest with you.
Okay.
That's something that Alex will probably be able to get some more information for you. So let's go back in here and redo that.
Big industrial equipment that you guys manufacture, right?
We use the configurator already, but there's room for error. Like the way the configurator works in the current situation, and I'll demo it right after this, is they can select multiple options. Like you could select 2 spoilers, and you can't really put 2 spoilers on a car, right?
Got it.
In our case, we can. The configurator's there, but
we need some more like rules and restrictions on the drop-down fields.
Yeah, and when I brought it up to the staff, they didn't seem like. We've just been changing so much, they're just frustrated with all the change, and so they didn't really want to go that direction yet. But in reality, it would make life a lot easier because they could just pull up a machine and immediately just know what questions to ask. Like,
sure.
Even to talking to their customer, you know, like, do you want this or this? You know, right now it's just a list, and it's like it's not literally like a walkthrough process. And I don't think it clicked for them how easy it would be to not even know anything about a machine, but know the right questions to ask just because of the configurator.
Yeah.
Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah,
the configurator would be like the way it is now is it's not like, because it's literally, the configurator is asking you the questions that you need to know, so you would have to ask the customer that, where right now it's just a list of stuff, and it's just like, I don't know what any of this means.
Sure.
And where, you know, like...
Yeah, whereas if you select the sports car as an example,
right.
Well, then it gives you the option to choose your spoiler. But if you choose the truck, then it doesn't give you the spoiler option.
Exactly.
Whereas in your version right now, you pick a truck, and then the next thing is pick the spoiler on the truck, right?
Yeah.
Even though it's not...
And I'll demo it here in a second.
Sorry, we're getting off topic there, Brad.
No, it's quite all right. Yeah, so now that we've created that, it creates a new inventory item in GP for you. It starts out with your basic car, and then it has these other abbreviations that I've set up. And this is kind of an ugly mapping because I just did this quickly, but you can condense this a bit so it makes more sense. But my general idea was frame, sports car, tires, standard, you know, color, black, and then I had some like attributes, manual transmission type stuff.
Right.
So one of the other things you can do, I've done this all as a one-to-one mapping for inventory items.
Can you choose it to do all the line items, or does it always just group them no matter what?
What do you mean by that?
So we selected all those options, which were all separate inventory items, right? And then it put them all into one inventory item. Can you keep them separate if you wanted to?
So the idea is it creates a bill of materials.
Okay,
like a manufacturing bill of materials.
I gotcha.
So they are still all separate inventory items, but it creates that new, like BOM at the end.
I gotcha.
So I have it set up as mapping these inventory items as one-to-one. So like for my frame here, I've got two separate inventory items, like the frame or the sports frame. So a different way you can do it. This is documentation for the new configurator, which I'll send you a link for this documentation at the end. There's a lot of information here if you're interested in reading it. But one of the other ways you can do it is you can set up those mappings dynamically. So for example, we're looking at legs for a table here to build a table. So you select the size of the leg, 16, 18 inch, or 17 inch, 18 inch, and then the color, wood, black, white. And then based off that, you have all these different inventory items. So even though you have three options here, three options here, you're actually mapping to 9 different inventory items.
Right.
So that's a little different because you don't actually have a 16-inch leg item,
Right.
Whereas in my example, I'm mapping everything one-to-one. You can set it up so that you can map one to many. So that's one of the really helpful things about the configurator.
That's actually good to know because that's kind of how our website works. When we config, like on our website, we can config product like that. And once we sell something on our website, we have to enter it into SalesPad, and it's been kind of hard for me to map it. So when we're trying to use the API to map it at some point, and I was just like, how do I do that? But since this can do that now, it'll be a lot easier to map it if I was using that, so that the options would match. You know what I mean?
Yep, exactly. And so one of the other things to note is, so I treated this as just like a one-time item, but you can set it up so that this is that this item number will get reused. So if someone goes through and selects these exact same, this exact same set of options, it's not going to create a brand new item in your item inventory. It's just going to reuse this one that already exists.
So it'd say we sold 2 of those.
Yep, exactly. So you can track all the info about that specific configuration.
That would solve a lot of problems we have right now because we really only ever sell a machine once. And so a lot of times they're like, well, how many of these have we sold? And it's like, well, that's hard to tell because every model number, every item is a new number, So I have to go find them all and then add them all together, and that would solve that problem. Because every time they select that configuration, it would be like this variation we've sold 1 time, this variation we've sold 2 times. So that's good to know.
Yeah, and as you can see in here, so this is my base item of car, and these are just some of the items I've set up. And there's a lot of different things you can customize in here. You can go as in-depth as you want. Like for the tire here, I just have it set up so that I can pick a couple different tires. There's nothing really fancy. I have a default item. I have a picture associated with it. You have to get 4 tires. You're not going to get 3, obviously.
Right.
Those are just some of the more basic things. And then the restrictions, as I mentioned, like I set up a restriction for spoiler. Like I can only get that with the sports car frame.
Right.
I mean, this looks a little complicated for the setup window, but this is all, one-time setup. Once you have it in place, then you don't have to mess with this again. And once you have it, you do have it set up coming in here and just, switching things around is that simple. Where, okay, maybe now I can only get my spoilers on a standard frame, not sports car.
Right. It doesn't actually look that complicated to me. I just lost. Oh, there it goes.
And yeah, so you can set up, I mean, there's all kinds of stuff that you can set up. If this is an active item, maybe you're only building this item for another 6 months, and then we're gonna make it inactive. So you can set a date range on when you can use it. And then that item that you create, it keeps track of in the description here. And you can map this to any field. It doesn't have to be a description field. You can map this to UDF. It just lets you know all the item or all the options you selected for your configuration.
Sweet.
Yeah, it's just, I mean, like I said, I'm not the best person to demo this, but it just kind of gives you a rough example of some of the things you can do with it.
I think it'd be very useful for what we do.
Yeah, especially
you want me to show you what we do right now?
You mentioned that, yeah, especially since you mentioned that you're using things for like a one-time and everything's configured separately. This gives you the option to
let me show you.
Really specify those things. Yeah. So hold on, let me hold the meeting.
Is there anything else you want to show before we switch screens?